Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakaha Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Revelation chapter 11 verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. And that great city, or so-called great city, is talking about the United States of America, which is biblically known as Babylon the Great, the virgin daughter of Babylon, mystery Babylon, spiritual Assyria, and as it says in this verse, spiritual Sodom and Egypt. And the reason the United States of America is known as spiritual Egypt is because it's serving in the same function that ancient Egypt served for the children of Israel, who are known today as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And just like the children of Israel were serving hardcore bondage and slavery in ancient Egypt, they're doing the same in this modern day spiritual Egypt. And you could look at just some of the symbols and practices that the United States of America does, and it's very similar to ancient Egypt. Just look at the pyramid on the back of the $1 bill. The Washington Monument is an obelisk. You've got places like Memphis, Tennessee, and then you've also got pyramids in places like Tennessee, as well as Las Vegas. The list goes on and on. And the reason the United States of America is known as spiritual Sodom is because this country is the #1 country that pushes the alphabet agenda, beginning with LG, onto the entire planet through Hollywood, social media, foreign policies, etc., etc. And just like ancient Sodom and Gomorrah was judged for all those vile acts it practiced, the same thing's going to happen to this modern day spiritual Sodom. And that's what I'll be going into with this video. Another example of why this so-called great city, the United States of America, is known as spiritual Sodom. This is a video from RT's YouTube channel titled Confusing Sex Ed for Children, GAY and TRANS Roleplay. And as we'll see in this clip, you've got a school up in Minnesota making children role play as if they're a part of the alphabet agenda. Just complete madness. And again, just like ancient Sodom and Gomorrah was punished and destroyed for doing these vile acts, this modern day spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah, as well as spiritual Egypt, is going to go through the same. And while Sodom and Gomorrah in the past was destroyed with fire and brimstone from the sky, this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah is going to be destroyed by modern fire and brimstone. 200 million nuclear missiles that are going to hit this place and turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. And like I said at the beginning of the video, besides being known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt as pursuant to Revelation 11 verse 8, the United States of America is also known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures. And when you go into the Strongs for the word Babylon, it goes back to Babel, which means confusion or confusion by mixing. And all you have to do is look around the United States of America to see that this place is confused to all hell, a gumbo pot mixture of madness. You've got, of course, the alphabet agenda beginning with LG. You've got NAMBLA, which looked that up. You've got a group of people that identify as furries, where they dress up and commit vile acts with each other. You've got people marrying bridges, people having sex with cars, bestiality, copophilia, which looked that up. You've got people that believe in this U.S. political system, identifying as Republicans or Democrats. And then you've got all these different religious, spiritual ideologies going on, such as Christianity and all its offshoots, people that believe in Hinduism and Buddhism, people that identify as Muslims, people that call themselves Wiccans or witches, etc., etc. And hey, these nations all across the world are getting sick of the United States of America pushing these wicked philosophies onto their people, which is going to play into them shooting those 200 million nuclear missiles onto this whore. Now let's get into this clip to show another example of why that so-called great city, the United States of America, is known as spiritual Sodom.
District in the U.S. A school district in the U.S. state of Minnesota has angered parents with its new sex education program, which includes gay and transgender role play for children.
This curriculum sabotages deeply held cultural, family, and faith beliefs, pits schools against parents in a standoff regarding whose values should be instilled.
This curriculum goes far beyond teaching respect and tolerance and is intentionally confusing children about their gender and sexual orientation.
Teaching K-12 students it's okay to be sexually active at a very young age is obviously dangerous. 3Rs describes pornography use as normal activity for teens when in fact pornography is damaging and addictive to undeveloped brains.
The Minnesota school program is called 3Rs, which stands for rights, respect, and responsibility. In one series of lessons, it asks students to pretend they're gay, lesbian, or transgender partners in a relationship. It also teaches children about anal sex and how to avoid catching HIV. The school authorities have defended the program, saying it's about keeping kids informed and safe.
Topics may include the anatomically correct names for body parts, a person's right to keep their body safe by expressing their level of comfort with such, and identifying a safe adult to confide in if needed.
Well, we heard from Walt Heyer. Walt's a former trans woman and founder of SexChangeRegret.com and believes that the 3R sex ed program should be raising serious alarm bells.
What's really harmful is that we are sexually abusing our children. This is sexual abuse. And the teachers are participating in sexual abuse. It's not about the LGBT. This has nothing to do with the LGBT. This has to do with the teachers engaging in pedophilia. The teachers may be becoming sexually aroused by engaging the children in these behaviors. And we need to actually have a federal investigation into what the children are learning from these teachers. And this kind of curriculum should not be in the schools. And any teacher who does this should be dismissed from school and should not be a school teacher.
Back in Revelation chapter 11, verse 8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, the United States of America, which spiritually is called Sodom, which we just saw an example of why the United States of America is referred to as spiritual Sodom, and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. And like I've been saying throughout this video, for all these wicked acts that this modern day spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah has been committing, it's going to get the same judgment that the ancient Sodom and Gomorrah received, fire and brimstone from the sky, though in this case, it's going to be modern fire and brimstone, those 200 million nuclear missiles. This is Isaiah chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 17. And the header reads, Babylon will fall to the Medes. And this isn't talking about ancient Babylon or the ancient Medes. Behold, I will stir up the Medes, the spiritual Medes, which are the Russians. And besides being known as the spiritual Medes in Isaiah 13, verse 17, Russia is also known as Gog in Ezekiel chapter 38, and the North Country in Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9, which also talks about the United States of America, Babylon the Great getting hit with nuclear missiles. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. When it comes the time for Russia, along with these other nations, to shoot their nuclear missiles onto the United States of America, the Most High is going to put the Spirit on them to push that button without any second thoughts. No peace treaties, peace talks, or anything like that will keep them from firing off those 200 million nuclear missiles. Verse 18, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces. And what do bows shoot? Arrows. Those bows are symbolic for the missile silos and other launch systems that are going to fire those nuclear-tipped arrows. Because what you have to remember is that when the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, they didn't know what a modern day nuclear missile was, so they had to describe it the best way they could with what they knew during their times. Ancient weapons of war, like bows and arrows, spears, javelins, flying swords, you name it. And they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. When these 200 million nuclear missiles hit the United States of America, the only people that are going to make it out are the elect of the nation of Israel, the 144,000 and the rest of the righteous 1/3. As for 2/3 of the nation of Israel who are wicked and want to live like these heathens, and you heathen nations in the United States of America, from man, woman to child, old to young, you're going to get burned up by those nuclear missiles. Verse 19, and Babylon, the United States of America, Babylon the Great, the virgin daughter of Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, that so-called great city, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And like I've been saying all throughout this video, how did the Most High overthrow ancient Sodom and Gomorrah? With fire and brimstone from the sky. And he's going to overthrow this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah with modern fire and brimstone from the sky. Those nuclear missiles. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. And this shows that this isn't talking about ancient Babylon, which is in modern day Iraq, because all you have to do is go to Google Images or put in YouTube videos of Iraq to see that people are still living there. Hell, you just had the war in Iraq. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. After those 200 million nuclear missiles hit spiritual Sodom and Egypt, the United States of America, and turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and in that desolate, uninhabitable wasteland, no man, woman, or child will ever set foot here ever again. And as it says in the next verse, after a time only desert creatures will dwell here, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. And we're living in the times of the downfall of Babylon the Great, spiritual Sodom and Egypt, the United States of America. And it's going to come shortly after the MOTB, the Charagma in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 17 is mandatorily implemented. And then when everything's said and done, the former United States of America is going to stand as an eternal memorial as to what a wicked kingdom looked like, how not to govern the earth, and what the judgment and punishment was for afflicting the apple of the Most High's eye, the true children of Israel, who are again the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim are edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites, who are currently running spiritual Sodom and Egypt, Babylon the Great, the United States of America. So as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.